Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today, let's talk about taking notes on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 600 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So a lot of people use their computers to take notes. This could be in a classroom situation like in a lecture where you're taking notes of what the teacher is saying, or it could be in a work situation at a meeting or in some other context where you need to take notes about what's going on. There are a lot of good ways to do this on your Mac. You can use some of the basic apps that come with your Mac, or you can get third-party apps to do it. It all depends on what you want. Let's start by looking at the Notes app. The name of the app is Notes. So you think this would be the ideal app for that. But Notes really means two different things. On the one hand, you could be taking notes in a class or meeting, or you could just be jotting down some information that you need later on. Matter of fact, a lot of times when people are talking about notes in a computer context, they're talking about these quick little pieces of information, not actually taking notes in a class or meeting. And that's what the Notes app really is about here. The Notes app is for jotting down quick bits of information and having them at your fingertips, not for really taking notes in a class or meeting. However, it still can be used for that. When you create a new note, it's basically like a small word processing document. And you could write whatever you want in here. And you can style the text in different ways. You can create checklists, all sorts of things. So it's still a decent app for doing that. One of the big advantages to Notes is it's quick and easy to launch. Another advantage is it syncs really well with iCloud. So you can take notes on your Mac and then review them on your iPhone or iPad or vice versa. And it has some organization here. You can create a new folder and store your notes in there or organize them by class or by work project. You can also take a note out of Notes by simply selecting it, copying and pasting it into something else. So it's easy to start off quickly in Notes when you need to start taking notes right now and then later on graduate to putting it into a word processor or a more dedicated note-taking app. Now there are lots of alternatives to using Apple's Notes app. A popular one of course is Evernote. A lot of people use. You can also use a third-party app called Bear, which is pretty good. Google has their note-taking app called Google Keep. Of course you do that in the web browser. And a really good and surprisingly free alternative is using Microsoft OneNote, which you can get in the Mac App Store. And it's basically a very advanced version of Notes. You can create different notes here. You have tons of styling options and you can organize your notes in all sorts of different ways, putting sections inside of notes and all sorts of things. And you can also even draw right here inside the Notes app on your Mac. And of course there are mobile versions of OneNote as well. So it's something to pay attention to if you're looking for more than the Notes app, even if you don't use other Microsoft products. So let's look at some other apps that come with your Mac. One of course is TextEdit. TextEdit has two modes. You can create a new document here and it could be in plain text mode or rich text mode. Under Format I see it says Make Rich Text, so I can assume I'm in plain text mode right now. You can set that up in Preferences of which one is the default here. Plain text notes just allow you to type text. There's no styling, there's no formatting, nothing. But an advantage is these files are really small and tiny and a lot of people like just typing in plain text and not having to deal with text formatting and fonts and things like that while they're taking notes. If you switch to rich text, you're basically working in a simple word processor. You can do all sorts of styling and create lists, things like that. You can even attach files and insert images. But you still end up with a file that's going to be smaller than a word processing document file. And it's using standard rich text formatting, which means that it's compatible with all sorts of different word processors on different platforms. A big disadvantage to using TextEdit though is there's no TextEdit on iOS for some reason. So anything that you save as a text file or rich text format file, you can get access to it on your iPhone or iPad in various different apps. But there's no quick back and forth like there would be, say, if you were using Notes or Pages to just open the file in the same app in either one and work with it back and forth between platforms. So let's talk about Pages. You can certainly use Pages for note taking. It even has a note taking template here that you can choose, which is basically an outline format. So you can create notes in an outline kind of thing. I would prefer to just use a plain blank document, style the text as I want. I could always quickly switch into a bullet list and use that as an outline. You can insert images. You can even import images directly from your iPhone. So you can say insert from iPhone and take a picture of a whiteboard or projector screen and then add that into your notes. You can do the same thing in TextEdit in rich text format. Now you can also record audio in Pages, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. The file sizes are going to be larger in Pages, but there's a Pages app for iOS so you can go back and forth between Mac and iPhone or iPad. The files could only be open in Pages, but it's easy to export out of Pages as a Microsoft Word document or text document or something else. Now there are tons of alternatives if you want to go the route of just using a word processor. Of course, if you use Microsoft Word for other things, then why not stick with Microsoft Word for this and use Word for note-taking. You can also use any major word processor. So something like OpenOffice or LibreOffice. You can of course use Google Docs, and I know a lot of students today use Google Docs for everything. So might as well go ahead and create a new Google Doc and use that for note-taking as well if you're using Google Docs for all your other classroom materials. Now there's some third-party apps you should check out. One is called Ulysses, and it's a great note-taking app that has lots of cool features. Another is called IA Writer, which uses Markdown format, which a lot of people like. So check that one out. And also check out GoodNotes in the Mac App Store. That one is built specifically for note-taking but also does a lot with PDFs as well. So let's talk about audio recording, because a lot of times at meetings or in lectures you want to record the audio of what's going on at the same time as you're taking notes. Now you could do that with a separate app. So there are two apps that come with your Mac. One is called QuickTime Player, and if you run that you can go to File, New Audio Recording. You can then select your microphone and then just record audio. And then you could just have this running in the background while you're taking notes during a lecture. You can also of course use the built-in Voice Memos app. And this is great because it actually keeps the voice memos here inside the app. So you just have these recordings in its own place. But you can also drag and drop them out if you want. And this can also just run in the background while you're using another app for note-taking. Now Pages isn't ideal for note-taking because it's primarily a word processor. But actually the audio recording function it is pretty good for note-taking. So you can go here to Insert and then you could do Record Audio. And you get this little box here where you can record audio. You hit Record and it starts recording and you can see the waveform there. And you could just have that out of the way as you continue to type different notes. And you can hit Stop. Now the cool thing is after you hit Stop you can hit Record again and it picks right up. So if you're in a meeting or a lecture where things start and stop a lot, you can not have all of that blank space recorded. You can also go to Edit here and you can edit this down, even listening and previewing to different sections. Or you could trim things, and when you're done with recording hit Insert and it becomes this little audio element in here. You could click it to play, but you could also see here on the right under Format Audio you've got playback controls here and you can hit Edit Recording and go back into edit mode. And if you want to export this from Pages you can just drag from here to the desktop or a Finder window and you get an audio file. Microsoft OneNote also has the ability to insert an audio recording and it will add it in here. It records it and then you could stop. But you can't pick up where you left off. You have to start another recording like that. But at least you can actually do it here in the app and then have those audio bits in with your regular text notes inside the same note in OneNote. Now you're probably thinking, wouldn't it be great if there was an app that recorded the audio and actually synced it to what you were typing at that time? And there is such an app. In the Mac App Store you can get the Noted app. And when you record with that you get the timing to the left. So I can type things here on the main document and you could see timings there. So when I hit Stop I could actually jump to the portion of the recording that fits with that part of the note. So you can take notes of a lecture and then jump to any part of that audio recording. So you might want to take a look at this Noted app here in the Mac App Store. Another thing to consider if you're going to record audio is getting a better mic than the mic that's in your MacBook because that's going to try to capture your voice. You want to capture what's going on in front of you. So an external microphone will help. You may not want to get an expensive and large microphone that's hard to carry around. So perhaps look at something like this $30 Samson Go microphone which can clip onto your MacBook and record omnidirectional. That's what you want. So it's going to record everything in the whole room, not just focused on you as the laptop user. So when it comes to taking notes on your Mac you have tons of different options. So in a lot of cases you could use any of the suggestions that I had. But if you have specific needs, if you're in school and you like to take meticulous notes, if you go to a lot of meetings at work and you have to take good notes during those meetings, then you may want to look into some of these other options to see if any of them can increase your productivity or learning experience. I publish new tutorials every weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Then hit the little bell icon to get notifications for each new tutorial.